Welcome back to the Shots Fired Book Tour podcast, The Rise from Ashes to Altitude. This is a living, breathing book tour based on my award-winning book, Shots Fired, a heroine's memoir. Through intimate conversations, behind-the-scenes storytelling, and powerful guest voices, we explore what it really means to rise from trauma, reclaim resilience, and turn wounds into wisdom. Each episode is a tour stop into a different part of the journey, from fire and bullets to forgiveness and elevation. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability is honored, healing is possible, and every listener is reminded your story carries strength, your voice carries truth, and your scars are no longer wounds. They're beauty marks of survival that make you bulletproof. I'm Tracy Lance, and today's episode, let's call this tour stop Las Vegas. One of my favorite places, by the way. Because when you hear Vegas, you think of risks, what it looks like to bet on yourself, and the gamble of starting over and rising through change. But this gamble wasn't at a poker table. It was on me. In the last episode, we took you behind the scenes of writing the book and discussed what it took for me to get this book into your hands. Whew! It was an emotional process, that's for sure. My voice still cracked when I talked about it. But in this episode, we're going to get into some of the kinds of moments that make your heart race, your palms sweat, and your mind scream, what in the hell am I doing? This is terrifying. We'll talk about the things that terrify me, like writing my memoir, sharing my life with the world, and airing my dirty laundry in a book where I talked about things that I swore I would take to my grave. Writing this memoir required stepping into fear too, all in it. Sharing my story of surviving trauma, being stabbed and blinded in one eye, losing my childhood home to a fire, the violence and struggles of my adolescence. It was exposing, but my traumas became my fiercest source of fuel. Every chapter, every word was about turning pain into power. Here's a power move that I made, a decision that horrified me. Leaving corporate America after 30 years wasn't just a career move. It was a leap into the unknown. I had spent decades climbing the ladder that led all the way up to a six-figure income, but nowhere near my purpose. I say corporate America was like being a prisoner, held hostage by a paycheck, trapped behind cubicles, thousands of miles of traveling, and being away from home for long periods of time. I knew there was something much greater than the quiet suffocation that was happening. Let me dive a little into the book where I described how I ended a long-term relationship that no longer served me. And I'm not talking about my first marriage. I had to make room for peace, healing, and the woman I was becoming, and find my way home. I was terrified, but doing it afraid is how you step fully into your purpose. Purpose doesn't wait for perfect timing, and my purpose was bigger than my fear. It's what allowed me to leave a career and start my business, building it from the ground up. It's what allowed me to leave a hopeless marriage and that long-term relationship that no longer served me, and trust that a bigger and better life waited for me. Life is full of moments where fear shows up in vivid ways. Leaving a job, leaving a relationship, chasing a dream that seems impossible. Starting this podcast, terrifying. Imposter syndrome shows up every time that red light comes on. Like, who do I think I am writing a book and starting a podcast? My hands shake a little, my heart and mind race. I have stage fright right now. I'm constantly thinking, we can't release these recordings because I need them to be perfect. But I'm doing it imperfectly and afraid. Why? Because neither imperfection nor fear override purpose. Obedience does. This podcast, this memoir, my life are all part of my assignment. Just a little backstory about this podcast. The Rise from Ashes to Altitude isn't just a title, it's a testimony. Listen to the lyrics of that theme song again. Let them carry you back to what inspired this podcast. When I was 4 years old, I accidentally started a fire that burned down my childhood home. Imagine my fear. Imagine a minute. The fear of that 4-year-old little girl, the chaos, the destruction at such a young age. In one moment, everything familiar turned to ashes. And yet, even in that devastation, a truth was quietly born. From ashes, there can still be altitude. That fire taught me early that survival isn't about avoiding destruction. It's about finding the courage to rebuild from it. But for years, I carried that secret like smoke in my lungs, afraid someone would see the guilt that shadowed me, the secret that I carried, hoping no one would ever find out that I destroyed our house and my family dynamic. It took decades to breathe freely again, to understand that what once burned me also branded me with strength. Every decision I've made, every risk I've taken since has been part of that redemption, turning ashes into fuel for the climb. That little girl you're imagining standing in the ruins of her home to standing on top of the roof of Africa on Mount Kilimanjaro, that's the rise. That's the altitude. That's the story that inspired this podcast. And this is a great segue into the journey on the mountain, because my fears didn't stop in those previous stories. It showed up on a literal mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. So this part of the tour brings us somewhere extraordinary in Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, on the stunning continent of Africa. The air is thin, the sky feels infinite, and every breath reminded me that this was really happening. I felt the transformation begin from the moment I landed on African soil. The scent of the earth and eucalyptus filled the air, and the mountain itself even felt alive. I felt like I had an exclusive invitation to come and play on God's playground, which felt inviting and intimidating, because this mountain, like life, demands both courage and surrender. I had never climbed a mountain in my life, with the exception of a few small mountains that I climbed in training for climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. But when the idea even came to me, that alone terrified me. Standing at the Mashami Gate, the base of the mountain, surrounded by mist and ancient trees, looking up at the summit hidden somewhere 19,341 feet up in the clouds, I felt exhilaration, trepidation, disbelief, excitement, and pure fear all at the same time. And let me tell you, 6 days on the mountain turned into 2 weeks. Now, there's a twist in the climb that you won't believe unless you already read the book. I won't reveal it here, but if you haven't read it, You'll have to read about it. It's definitely a story for the pages, not this podcast. But I'll tell you this. Sometimes life throws you a curve when you least expect it. That climb nearly took me out. Another metaphorical shot fired at me. The ascent was grueling. Up there, the air thins, so your oxygen level suffers. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your legs burn. The pain, oh, the pain. Body aching, pain throbbing. And when the excruciatingly freezing cold hits you in the face, your mind plays tricks on you. You get confused, and then you step outside of your body to observe the insanity. Then the fear rises because I thought I was going to die, especially after seeing other hikers drop and pass out right in front of me. I just knew I was next. You're constantly reminded by the guides on the mountain, pole pole, meaning slowly, slowly in Swahili, step by step, altitude by altitude, one step at a time. You're way more mentally exhausted than physically, but you keep going. And here's what I learned. The ascent, the climb up, is where the growth happens. It's where you find out who you really are. You realize just how much courage it takes to keep going. But coming down is so much faster. I could have run down the mountain. Once you've reached that level of clarity, coming down feels lighter, you feel freer. It felt effortless compared to the climb up. Life is like that too. Sometimes you're gasping for air, taking tiny steps, pole pole, slowly, deliberately. The struggle to rise and reach your goals is long, hard, and sometimes terrifying. But once you've reached a breakthrough, the momentum carries you forward. The climb up is preparation and process, struggle and growth. The descent, momentum, flow, freedom, reminding you how far you've come. During the time on that mountain, I learned lessons about life, fear, surrendering, and trusting the process. And this was very difficult because we want to feel like we are at the wheel and in control. But I also learned lessons about resilience that I could have never imagined. My time there was transformative. Like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, it's the same with business, with relationships, with life. When I started my skincare business, I had no roadmap, just faith, grit, and the mindset that if God gave me the vision, He'd provide the provision. I built it from the ground up, one client, one idea, one sleepless night at a time. It helped that I have a business degree and transferable business skills from corporate, but it was still tough and lonely. And every time I thought I'd reached my limit, something made me keep climbing. Sometimes the mountain tests your will before it rewards your strength. And every step reflects the struggle between fear and faith. All of these fears that I had or have forced me to let go of comfort, security, and what felt safe. Sometimes we think that we need to stay in places because of the years of investment we make in those things. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth. That thinking will keep you in a prison with the doors wide open. But I had to trust God and bet on me, following God's order. It was necessary for me to live fully into my purpose, because stepping out of the familiar and into fear is really where the elevation begins. I learned that sometimes elevation requires separation and doing it afraid. Let me tell you something. Fear doesn't just disappear when you make a bold decision. Fear is persistent. Fear doesn't knock politely. It stays. It lingers. Michelle Obama, in her book, The Light We Carry, writes that fear can become a limiting inheritance passed down through generations. She talked about how our hurts become our fears and our fears become our limits. And she's right. I know this to be true because in the first episode, I talked about my fear that traced back to one of the hardest betrayals of my life. Here's another truth about fear. It isn't the enemy. So the best thing you can do is make it your friend because it's never going anywhere. Look at it this way. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that you're on the verge of elevation. And for all of my risers listening in, let me tell you, that is exactly what this journey has been about. That fire must have taught me something I've carried in every big decision I've made since. Fear doesn't mean stop. It signals that you're on the edge of growth, that elevation is waiting. Leaving corporate America, ending relationships that no longer served me, and even climbing Kilimanjaro. Each of these moments carried that same fire. The fear, the uncertainty, the physical and emotional burn. It's all part of rising from the ashes. Here's what I believe helped me to develop this mindset. From the ashes of my childhood home in Chicago to the struggles and traumas I survived in between, everything I thought should have broken me became my fiercest source of fuel. Every hardship, every scar, every challenge has been training me for elevation. Training for those 30 marathons even strengthened my mindset. It's the difference between seeing obstacles as roadblocks or stepping stones. Mindset became my lifeline. I had to rewire the way I thought about loss, failure, and uncertainty. When I left everything familiar behind, I had two choices: collapse under fear or rise through faith. We know that fear and faith can't coexist in the same breath. One silences the other. And when I chose faith, the doors started to open. I started my business with no guarantee of success. I built it from the ground up, one client, one review, one prayer at a time. Mindset is what allowed me to embrace that fear, transform pain into fuel, and move forward even when I couldn't see the finish line or the top of the mountain. And just like Kilimanjaro, where each altitude challenge pushed me past my limits, life has constantly asked me to step out of comfort zones, face fear head on, and trust that I could rise above. So step forward and do it afraid, and trust that every mountain you climb, every challenge you face, every risk, every fear is preparing you for your elevation. Thank you for joining me on this stop of the Shots Fired Tour in Las Vegas and Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, on the amazing continent of Africa. Remember, the journey to healing isn't a straight climb, but every step forward matters. Every step forward matters. When you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you begin to find your rhythm, your breath, your flow. So wherever you are on your journey, feel it, face it, trust that every pause has purpose, every climb has meaning, and something greater is always waiting on the other side. If this episode resonates with you, I want to hear from you. Share your own mountain, your leap of faith, your scary decision, your climb towards purpose. What's the one thing in your life that no longer serves you? Maybe it's a job, a relationship, or a mindset that keeps you small and stuck in fear. Bet on yourself. Let today's discussion inspire one small act of courage today. Because when you do, you don't just rise. You change the altitude of everyone connected to you. Keep the conversation going. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that fear is just a signal that you're about to elevate. Oh, and if you haven't read Shots Fired, a heroine's memoir yet, trust me, you'll want to read about the twist in that climb. You won't believe what happened up there. You'll read more about how my life is a lot like climbing a mountain, and you'll see yourself in my story. The highs are exhilarating, but the lows, the setbacks, the doubt, the moments you question everything, those are your oxygen-deprived altitudes. They test you, they stretch you, they teach you. This book, I'm telling you, will take you to a place you'll never forget. Next stop on the tour, Phoenix, the city of rebirth, hope, and survival. In this episode, we're diving into the book. And joining me will be a woman who embodies resilience in every sense of the word. You'll hear from Marcy Bond, a powerful survivor who faced cancer head on and found strength in the ashes of uncertainty. And this conversation is especially close to mine because she's not just a survivor. She's my daughter. Though she was at the forefront of my book writing process, her story of faith, fight, and fortitude will leave you inspired beyond words. You don't want to miss that one. Thank you for always giving yourself the gift of exploring what it really means to survive, to heal, and to rise. Let's take this journey, keep traveling, and rising together.